There we go. All right, we have our very last week of the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Welcome to our new and improved Sherry Grant, or going backwards Sherry Grant. We're doing a time hop. We're going back in time. Yeah, so I'm actually, something I want to include underneath this, possibly underneath this recording. I don't know where I'm going to put it. But Brittany Howard has gone through this 21 Laws of Leadership.
She's actually in process. She's actually doing it right now.
Well, she actually I think they might have just finished. Let me double check. But anyway, she just had posted all of their videos together in one chunk in the Jewels of Excellence group. And so I want to put that in. So if people want to kind of dive further, get another angle, like she said, she's been through this about 6 times. And I mean, you know, she's an amazing leader. I always love to hear her take. So if you guys are ever interested, you can listen to those. So I'll make sure that I put those in. So actually what we're doing today is we're out of laws. We've run out of laws. We are lawless today. But we want to talk about the most impactful laws for everyone. And yeah, just sort of looking back. So yeah.
So when I was reflecting on this week and thinking about, so what are the most impactful laws? And it was kind of funny because it was the laws of growth, personal growth, that I kept sort of thinking about. And as I went back to the 21 Laws of Leadership, I thought, you know, I think what I want to do is take a look at the 5 levels. And so I went in and I did my evaluation on the 5 levels. And I looked at the level that I feel least successful in, least competent in, least the level that I felt needed the most attention and intention. And so I pulled those laws and took a look. And it was interesting because those seem to be the laws that are less clear, that have less clarity, that have less, that I feel less confident in as a person, as a leader, in all the things. And so there was 3 that I actually pulled out that I'm like, okay, these are the 3 laws that I really want to kind of dig into in the next little while as we're starting our new book study. And the 3 laws were the law of magnetism. And that's who you are is who you attract. And it made me think that I need to actually look at who I've attracted to see who I was when I attracted them.
Mm-hmm.
And to really dive into who am I attracting now to see where I've grown in that process. And the second one that I really that spoke to me was the law of the picture. And that's an interesting one because it was like the first time I read the book, I had one idea about it. The next time I read the book, I had another idea about it. And it's like that law has, for me, challenged me in clarity. And it's the one, people do what people see. And I had a misconception about the law of the picture being the picture that I was moving toward, or maybe the picture that I was sharing, and somehow wasn't seeing it as the picture of what I was doing, that what others around me were doing, because that's what I was doing. So that one, I'm still studying.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one was the law of buy-in. And I think that one is one about, for me, it's one about personalities. It's about understanding that for people to buy into an idea, to a plan, to a concept, to a regime, to a whatever it is, it's about speaking to them in their language. reaching to them, to the places that matter for them, and taking time for them to understand that in that law of buy-in process, but not so much time that you lose the people that are like, oh yeah, I got it, let's go. Because those people, while you're busy getting everybody bought in, they're like, done, it's too late, we've missed.
Mm-hmm.
So it for me, it's like getting that piece of the law of buy-in more consolidated. Maybe that's the word. So yeah, those were the three that I sort of had reflected on and thought about.
It is just so interesting to go through when you've gone through before. Like I'm using the assessment to just look through just this morning, and I so appreciate the workbook. I swear, anytime he has something with a workbook, it should be mandatory that a person purchase them both because it's just so good, and he asks good questions, and it's just like, it's just that next level, right? Like there were times in my business where I would have been like, no, I'll just buy the book, it's fine. But I honestly think that that's almost a protective measure. I'm only willing to read the book. I'm not actually willing to go deep and answer the questions, but that's just me. It's interesting to look back through because, of course, we did the assessment at the beginning. So the first time I did the book, I did the assessment, and then the second time I did the assessment beside, and now I want to go back through and like reassess again and figure out where the areas of growth are, figure out where the areas of strength are without being too picky, because we can do that, right? You go through and you're like, oh, I see all these spaces where I can grow in everything. let's nobody gets a 3 out of 3, or me. I don't get a 3 out of 3 on any of them because it's all places to grow. I think one that did really surprise me, that challenged me, was the law of legacy that we covered last week. And I think I shared last week that I understand legacy, but just like you only know what you know with the experiences that you've had, and that you can't know better until you step into a new way of thinking, to a new mindset, new, whatever, new experiences, new revelations, all of those things. I'll stop talking with my hands as Sherry's trying to take a picture because this is going to look real good. She can't,
because Linda just had to step away. She can't take the picture right now.
Can't take a picture.
Okay.
Anyway, I felt like I had more clarity. Oh, now Amy's standing in front of her camera.
Turn on her lights.
Oh, there you go. I felt like I had more clarity on the law of legacy after last week than I had before, which is crazy because I feel like part of my strength, one of the things that I'm strong with, is vision and vision casting and being able to share with people what the vision is. But if I didn't totally grasp the magnitude of legacy and really what Tarl and Alec have been doing and their big vision for legacy in that way and what that looks like and all those things, then my vision casting is only so effective. And so really pressing into what legacy means for me, what legacy looks like for other people, what this can look like together with Plexus, where Plexus is going. I mean, I think that they have just kind of blown the lid off of legacy that we didn't know existed. And then you start to go into the whole humanity thing, and it's like, what is going to be here when I'm gone? And then of course I told my kids that they get my business, and Addison decided that he was going to run it because nobody else was going to. So my 10-year-old's taken over. So sorry, guys. I hope I'm around for a little while longer. Of course, I think we can all, well, maybe not all of us, but the law of the lid is an ever-changing, ever-reminding, constant companion. of reassessment. Where is my lid?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think wherever we are, there's room to grow. That's just how it is. So accepting, respecting, appreciating, recognizing where we are on our journey, how much we've done, and being aware that there's more steps and enjoying that journey.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, more awareness of self and leadership and growth and all of those things totally change the scale. Like, I now have more awareness in this area. I can do so much better here and here. And now I'm actually, even though I may be a better leader than I was the first time that I scored this, I had no concept of what I was scoring, because now the platform has changed.
Right. I think Brenna had mentioned that early on. One of our early ones was she actually scored lower now than she had when she'd first read the book.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, that's simply an awareness of what those laws actually mean.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're not as good as or anything else. It just is awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah, Linda, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing this book again, because I'm a little bit like Brenna was, taking it all in, you feel a little bit overwhelmed. You're not sure what each law includes and everything. And the next time I do it, I will have a workbook. Yeah. And dive in a little deeper with each one.
Yeah. Linda, the first time I had the workbook was after, so I'd done the book before, and then I got the workbook, and I got totally, like, I hit that terror barrier by like the first or second chapter. The dang workbook, Linda.
Oh, joy. I'm looking forward to it.
We're so excited for you.
I know where to go for help.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? I think that it would be, and it's totally different too, where you're getting other influences of growth, right? Now that I'm going through Emily Gibson's coaching, so much of this is like, hey, you know what? It's just a thought.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is 50-50, no matter what you do. Your days of leading, your days of growth, everything is 50-50. It's fine. And it's okay. And we can still push through. And I can't tell you what a massive shift that has been in my mind. And such a small, seemingly small thing, such a small thing has just created such a massive shift. It's just a thought. There's only an emotion if I choose to attach one. And then I get to choose if it's positive or negative.
And maybe it's both.
50-50. When you start to realize that you cannot assume what other people are thinking, and you can't put your hand, you cannot take responsibility for what you assume somebody else is thinking. You're like, Do you know that they're thinking that? Or are you assuming that they're thinking that about your leadership? Do you know that this part, like, so much?
I'm watching the chat for Jimmy's note because, yes.
Yeah, we'd love for you to weigh in.
She says, I wish I had the book. I have the workbook. You know, Jimmy, I think, well, if I always want more, like I want the book, the workbook, the audio, I'm always wanting more. But the reality is, I probably can only integrate and learn this much versus this much. So bringing all that in, maybe in some ways just limits how much I actually integrate and assimilate and actually use.
I think that for squirrels like me, the workbook is perfect because it sort of pares down all the things and sort of narrows the focus. Like, your attention needs to be here. I still listen to the audio, but your attention needs to be here. This is where we want you to get.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amy, do you
I
have
think
thoughts?
Yes, I think it's going to be very interesting because this workbook, the 10-year anniversary revised edition, was in 2007, the one that I have. So 10 years from that is 17. But what's really going to be fascinating to me is what he puts in 10 years from now. Because the examples in many of his books that I read of leadership is through leadership through crises in many of the books. So in this last 2 years, we're still here. Yes, we think we see leadership, but in 10 years from now, having examples from this time in this type of book will really be fascinating.
Just on
And-
that aspect, Amy, he's actually rewriting this book right now. And we're going to get a new edition. I don't know when, but soon. And I 100% believe it's going to have examples from this last 2 years
Mm.
because he's
I don't know
really
how he
focused on
couldn't.
it.
I don't know how he couldn't, right? I feel like he's going to want to revise all of his books.
Yeah.
So here's,
But I was going to say, Janelle, that I actually agree with you because I have both the book and the workbook. And the book you just get to read. Lovely. It's got questions, but you're reading. Where the workbook has discussions. And I actually have a couple tabs in here that says do the action. Because there's an apply and an action in the workbook for every chapter. I haven't done them in more than the 2 that I have, but my little pink tabbies are in the law of priorities. Like I haven't done the action for the law of priorities. And the other one is in the big mo. Which is actually pretty interesting. But the one that really I find interesting for myself is the law of victory. Leaders find a way for the team to win. And
so true.
those big ones, we can win. Senior Ruby, absolutely. Like those big wins, but it's paring it down for myself for those wins, the daily wins, or for when you're trying to encourage somebody to tell them that they are winning when I haven't even given myself that, which also pops into the law of the pitcher, because what does a win look like? We happened to talk about this yesterday a bit. Like, I don't know, what does it look like? What do I want?
I think you said something else, like you read it, but bringing it up is so valuable because it said a leader, you just said a leader helps the team win. So he's not saying a leader helps their team win. It's saying a leader, a person who is a leader, helps the team win. So that actually gives us far more responsibility than just, I have 4 people on my team. I'm going to help those 4 people win. It's what can I do to exemplify leadership where I want to be to help others around me win. On my sidelines, for the people that I'm showing up for. So guys, that could honestly, and I mean, I straddle the fence on compliance sometimes, I'll be honest, because there are sometimes you want to tell the story and like you need certain words to go in the story. Otherwise the story is not quite as impactful, right? But as a leader, are you helping other people win by sharing non-compliant stuff where somebody else goes, and shares it, and then they get caught by compliance. They're like, but I just shared it from wherever, right? Or, you know, like, how are we helping one another win? How are we helping our Plexus Biz sidelines win? Right? How are we walking in leadership to, oh, there was a word there that just flew out of my brain. Basically to encourage others to level up. Oh, I see what that looks like now. Right? Sometimes, like what I said before, you don't know what it looks like until you've seen it. There are people like Brooke Hemingway and Emily Gibson who have this vision, like, and it's a gift, right? Like, they don't need to see what it looks like all the time. They just can go create it. They get it in their own heads from their own minds. Sometimes people need to see what it looks like in order to level up in leadership. But truly, when we are the strongest, when I look back historically in our team, when we were the strongest was when lines were completely blurred. It didn't matter who you were, whose team you were on, where you belonged, no, nothing. Everyone was leading, everyone was leveling up, and they just showed up for that person on their left. There was this continuance of, yes, I will come talk to your sideline. Yes, I will come and talk to your, you know, whoever, like I will, you know, it was this constant leveling up of leadership and just showing up for people that didn't make you money, did make you money, right? It's not all about money, but that's just the perspective, right? And people were just being leaders. And it's hard. It is hard. Jimmy just said it's hard, but because we have to have our law of priorities, right? We have to be clear with that, but simply just how we show up, right? Kind of like Sherry was talking about the picture. How we show up is effective to lead not just our own team, but others too. So Jimmy is saying that her laws that she really has been thinking about, the law of priorities, the law of legacy, the law of process. She agreed with Amy with the law of victory. Yeah, like we could just turn around and do this whole book over again, and it would be just as important, effective.
Yeah, I agree.
It's almost like books like this, it just make me laugh. It's books like this that make me think of like Tolkien, right? So he writes Lord of the Rings. Well, now what? Right? Like you've just written the most epic, like some of the most epic fictional works of ever of our time. Now what are you going to do? He writes this, and it's so important that people could just keep on going through it over and over and over again. But yet he keeps coming out with even more stuff that is challenging and encouraging and with growth and whatever. Oh, Jimmy said she picked the laws that she had highlighted the most.
True, because that really is what speaks to you the most. Yeah. I love those highlights to know.
I feel like my whole book looks like that. One of my kids will read it and they'll be like, Mom, was there anything you didn't highlight? The whole book is like pink.
Yeah, there we go. I think I've mentioned it before, but this book by Tim Elmore just came out, and it's the 8 Paradoxes of Leadership. And it's the foreword in it is by John Maxwell. So the whole concept is along that line, but it's a different writer, and it really brings to light that wherever we walk on our leadership line, if you move too far this way, you're out of the game. If you move too far this way, you're out of the game. And that bringing those two sides into that alignment is critical in terms of being able to move forward. So I think that is really important to think about is there's not a right or a wrong. It's not black or white. It's like a many-colored coat. It's like everyone coming together. It's like all the ideas. It's like, yes, one day you're like, oh, I think this is the direction. And another day you're like, oh, this is the direction. And it's bringing those to a place that you can move forward with.
Mm-hmm. It was funny the other day, if we talk about books, like how many books are you reading right now? Do I have to count? I get this face. How many books are you reading right now?
Oh, well, I was doing masterminds in 3, book studies. No, masterminds in 2, book studies in 3. And I've got a list of books, a reading list of books for this year. I actually don't know how many I'm reading right now.
When you sent me that one, I'm like, oh, it looks good, but
you know what? And that's something I would really like to say, like really clearly. We can't do everything. We have to pick and choose. We each have different amounts of time that we want to spend on different things. Book reading's my gig. I like to do that.
That's so
Personal
cool.
growth, my gig. I like to do that. I in no way think everybody should be reading as many books as I am reading at this point, or doing all the other things. It's priorities. It's the law of priorities. And I think maybe that may be the law that we came back to the most today.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Totally.
if we're not prioritizing, we're actually not going deep on anything, and we're actually avoiding the deep learning.
I'm going to throw a recommendation in just because we're going to. How to Heal Your Metabolism. This came super highly recommended to me by Bridget Kroll and Carrie Halfley and Casey Boggle. Apparently it just fits so lovely right alongside our products, what we do. It's like, this is a great tool for us. And I get wrapped up in the personal growth stuff. And I'm like, I probably should read some like sciencey, you know, methodical kind of stuff. So I'm actually, again, going back to the law of priorities, I actually realized I need to set up like a reading schedule for myself, because there's a certain amount of time that I want to allot every day to growth, but I also don't want to grow crooked, right? I want to grow. I don't want to be crooked. I want to grow in the right. Yeah. So the other thing that I'm going to say is that our book club for Plexus for the month of February is Amberly Lago, is her book. And I can't remember. Hold on.
Which one it is?
I'm just looking. I will know it when I see it. True Grit and Grace.
Okay.
Turns
and which
tragedy
day?
into triumph. So that's that one.
And which date is it? Do you know?
It is it's the 19th.
Okay.
So it'll be directly following this. And yeah, she's an incredible person. I don't remember if you guys, how many people did Momentum? No, Align. Align was on virtual last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was on, and it was just so, her story is just incredible. I think I will probably get this on audio and listen to it, because I think that it's one of those ones that will be an easy listen. One though that I really do want to get my hands on, and there's some talk about doing an actual book club on it, is Soundtracks by John Acuff.
We did that one. We did that one.
We did it with, did you guys do it separately? So we did it with the Plexus Book Club.
We did it with Plexus Book Club, but I'm just going to share my story. I heard the word soundtracks and I thought, not really interested. These music stuff, well, whatever. And then I was blessed to be at the actual book study. Apparently God told me that's where I needed to be, and I listened to it,
High five.
and I was blown away. I went and bought the book. I went and got the thing. We went and read it. We've talked about it. We've talked about it in small groups. It is so worth it.
Yeah, so it's Alyssa that wants to do the study because she is just so enamored with this work, Alyssa Bjorn. And so I think probably after Grit is done, I think that this will probably be the next one. But it is such an important book. Like it really does hit on so many issues that people have. And I did not buy the book. I have it on audio, but that in itself has been so good. And it probably will be one that I repeat over and over and over again. Sorry, we totally got off track, but.
Well, I'm actually thinking that maybe we're close to our whole wrap-up piece, because if everybody's shared kind of where they are with the 21 laws, if everybody's shared where they found value, maybe we're ready to get excited about
The 5 levels.
Amy?
Oh my gosh. I am so excited about the 5 levels. The one thing that I would suggest that people do this week, kind of in preparation, like not just the reading of the 37 pages that we're doing here. I personally am going to review the law of the lid from the 21 laws first. And then I'm going to embark on the 5 levels, because that one is it. If a person got nothing else out of the 21 laws other than like the law of the lid, I think that you'd be prepared to move into this. That's just my opinion. I'm excited.
I was just reviewing Jimmy Lou's list, and I had gone back also to process and went, well, if I could get my priorities going, then maybe I could get the process to go with the priorities and I'd be on the same page. But I love that Jimmy Lou put both of them on her list because they are so connected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
Totally agree. If it wasn't for sticky notes, what would we stick in our books?
That's why sticky notes are made, I'm sure.
All right. So next week, we have the very beginning of the 5 levels of leadership. First 37 pages or 35 pages, which is essentially the overview and the assessment. So excited. I won't be here. But yeah,
It means we could have a runaway train without Janelle to keep us on the track.
Oh, I'm sure I do. Yeah. There will be no squirrels. No
Oh,
squirrels.
I think those squirrels are multiplying. Wouldn't be surprised if we have squirrels.
They're here even when I'm not here. I'm
The
leaving.
squirrels are Zoom contagious.
You can communicate squirrels through Zoom, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, I think so. I think you can catch them that way.
Yeah. The one thing that I had been thinking about, though, as we kind of wrap this up, is Amy had said, I can't wait for John Maxwell, in the next 10 years to see what he's going to do. I think what's going to be really interesting is going to be his legacy and how he begins to, because he may not be teaching. I can't imagine him stopping teaching if he still has the ability to. But he is going to be passing the torch on, which is again how he's got this. Sherry can speak to this more, but the fellow that often speaks with him, what is his name? There's one guy.
Well, Mark Cole speaks a lot with him, but honestly, this Tim Elmore worked with him for the first 20 years of Tim's career. And so this is a legacy piece in many ways.
Well, and I was wondering about that when you said he wrote the foreword. I'm wondering if that's part of the passing of the baton to, right?
Mhm.
Just interesting. Very interesting. All right, folks.
Jimmy's promising to bring the squirrels, so we got it covered.
She's got rabbits too. It'll be a whole Snow White thing.
Woohoo!
Bunnies and squirrels and birds. And I hear birds in my tree. But
All good.
I'm I'm getting my hair done next Saturday, so I'll miss it. I'll have to catch the replay. I'm getting my skunk line covered. That's what I call it.
We all have our hair story.
today has been the day of the hair.
Uh-huh.
Oh my word. Sherry, I think you should keep rocking that for that. Did Lynn see you in it this morning?
No.
No. Don't scare him. Oh, I wonder. So I took my cardboard cutout of myself and I put it in the basement so that you couldn't see it until you got to the bottom of the stairs, and then it's just sitting there. Scared the crap out of Addison, but I was working on Lucas. So I'm wondering if yeah, anyway,
Goodness.
all the things we do to our families.
Okay.
We're like 15 minutes early. That's not a bad thing.
That's not
great.
a bad thing. That's
All right,
good.
guys. Thank you for this, and we'll catch 5 levels starting next week. Bye.